Everybody, it is Prince's friend, and welcome back to another Versus video. Oh my god, I love doing these kind of videos just because you can really get a lot of good discussion out of these sorts of things. So what I did is I ended up getting contacted by someone else who has actually an MJ-focused channel named King V, and he's really awesome. And we got together and we recorded a whole 45-minute video, and I have some outtakes and it's awesome. But about the first half of the video, the sound was jacked up. And we recorded this over a month ago, and just over the last month, we just have not been able to get back together in order to get the rest of the video kind of re-recorded. So I decided that what I was going to do was go ahead and get this done myself. So I'm going to go over the points and stuff that we made in the first half of the video, but just by myself, and then that's going to be part one. Then we have part two, where King V's actually going to be on the video and everything, and you'll notice my hair is longer and my background is cleaner. It's a really, really fun discussion, because these are two very huge kind of iconic figureheads in music, you know? And they're actually very similar in many ways, but they obviously are better at some things than the other is and whatnot. So I mean, it's a discussion worth having, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that during this part and during the second part, I'm a Prince friend, and I like Michael Jackson music as well. I like both, but I prefer Prince. And King V he likes both, but he prefers Michael. And I think that that's actually a really good balanced way of approaching this sort of thing. And I'm not approaching these to say which one's better and I'm gonna, fight to the death and everything. That's just not who I am. Basically, question number one is what we're gonna go over here, and then 2 through the rest of it is gonna be on the other video. And the first question was, who has more talent? And that's not really an easy question to answer. So really what we're going to do is, this is broken down into 6 different little sections there, and we're kind of going to go over them, and we're going to see who seems to be on top of these sections. So the first subsection of talent is singing. And that's actually a really hard one whenever you start comparing two greats like Prince and Michael Jackson. For instance, Michael Jackson is an amazing singer. He's got a completely unique voice, one that if you heard somebody singing it, you know that that's him. That's why everybody for a while thought that, somebody's watching me. They thought that was a Michael Jackson song. They didn't know that, who the hell's Rockwell? As soon as Michael Jackson's voice is on an album, you know that. On a track, on anything, you know that that's Michael Jackson, and that's actually a testament to his voice and how unique it is. And he actually is really, really good at singing. Here's the thing, though. Prince is also a very good singer who has a really awesome higher register. He's got a lower register. He can rap. He's got a lot of different things. He can scat. And so basically, if you start comparing their voices, I think that Michael Jackson's singing voice is more unique, but Prince's is more versatile. And if you ask me what I prefer, I would go with versatility, to be quite honest. So I am going to give this point to Prince, because I think Prince just wins out. He basically, having the versatility of your voice allows you to do a lot of different types of songs. The second point is dancing. Who is the better dancer? That is a really tough one for me personally. But really, if you look at it objectively, it falls to Michael Jackson because he focused on the dancing a lot. He would be jumping around the stage, he'd be doing this crotch grabbing, but every song had its own choreography that went with it, and he created so many unbelievable and iconic dance moves. The moonwalk, the crotch grab, the Thriller thing, all of these things are just amazing, and they're all specifically Michael Jackson. So there is a reason why he has the reputation for being an awesome dancer. And even though he kind of, he ends up repeating some moves here and there, I don't think anybody cares. I mean, that's what he does. Prince really great dancer, and he would do a lot of different things. He did the splits. He was more like a James Brown. Like, he did a lot of footwork, he did a lot of splits and a lot of jumps. In terms of choreography, there really wasn't much of it there. He kind of just danced, whatever he felt at the time is what he danced. That's kind of what I liked about Prince, is that it was more about the feeling and less about the execution of it all. But Prince did all of that in heels, which gives him a huge plus in his category. Because Michael Jackson, he had very nice, comfortable shoes during all of his dances, but Prince was doing it in heels, and it's kind of crazy. But guess what? I still give this one to Michael Jackson. So I'm gonna say Michael Jackson wins the dancing competition, as if it is a surprise to anybody. Now we get to songwriting, okay? So songwriting is kind of an interesting one as well, because both of them have written some really, really good songs that have kind of stood the test of time. I think that in Michael Jackson's case, it's kind of interesting too, because he started off with his songs being written for him. He wrote Ben, when he was a kid, but even then, he still, had most of his songs written for him. But he always had a hand, even when a song was written for him. As soon as he got solo, he had a hand in most of those songs, and the execution of them and making sure that they fit him. And he would add his own lyrics and stuff, and I think that he learned as he went, which was pretty awesome. And he ended up, coming to writing the majority of the Bad album and all the rest of the albums that followed. He wrote 99% of those albums, which those albums are the ones that I ended up liking way more than his earlier albums as a fan of Michael Jackson music. He also wrote We Are the World, and he lent his voice to a lot of different musicians and his talent and whatnot in order to, really kind of get himself out there. So I would say Michael Jackson is a really big contender in this department. He wasn't doing it for as long as Prince, but when he did do it, it was huge. Now, Prince, on the other hand, he was a songwriter from the beginning, and he, if you got a Prince album, that was, he did it. He wrote it, and he arranged it, and he edited it, and he did all the instruments, and he did all of that. That was all him, and, it was Prince from beginning to end. And the thing that I really like about Prince's writing is that he wrote 4 different types of styles. He could write a love song, he could write an angry song, he could write a political song, he could write, all these different things. He could write it, and Prince would get challenged that, I bet you couldn't write a song about this, and then he would. That's where La 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 He came from, is just, he can write a song about anything. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to call this one a tie, and each of them is going to get a point here, because I think that both of them are really, really great songwriters. So point number 3 is musicianship. This seems like it would be an easy win for Prince. And I think it's going to end up actually being, obviously Prince is known as a musical genius and a multi-instrumentalist, and there's a reason why he's known for that, is because he can pick up anything and he can just jam on it. He could pick up almost any instrument and be able to play it. I think horns was really his one failing. He maybe doesn't have good lung capacity, who knows. But when I was doing my research and when I was talking with King V, it was brought up to me that Michael Jackson played the piano, he played guitar, he played a little bit of percussion. He also had that amazing beatboxing thing that he could do that Prince, he could never do it in a day in his life, I bet. But he had this thing that he would do, and he did it on Oprah, if anybody recalls that. He did that and he showed it to her, and it was just whoa, what did you just do with your voice? I can't do that. So he did have that going for him as well. But if we're gonna go with musicianship, I'm sorry, it has to go to Prince. It just has to. So I'm gonna give Prince the point. The next one is production and engineering, because obviously this is part of the talent, right, is being behind the scenes as well. You can't just be a singer, not in my book, and I've talked about that a lot. You get extra points if you're all over the place and you have more to contribute than just a really good singing voice, in my opinion. So, let's do this. MJ, he kind of had a hand in most of the stuff, but his earlier albums were produced by Quincy Jones. His later albums, he produced some of the stuff, but it was mostly taken over by other people. I actually think that he was pretty good, and any of the tracks that you see that he actually did have a hand in, I think were actually really some of his best work. But he did lean on other producers and engineers to make him sound better. So, as opposed to Prince, who didn't sign a contract with a record label until they would let him produce himself, who said no to all of these greats and said, no, I don't want you to produce me. No, screw that. That's dumb. This is also part of that whole, if you got an album, Prince did that shit. You know, Prince did the singing, Prince did the music, Prince did the engineering, Prince did the production and the arrangement and everything, and he did everything. He did the vocal levels, and you know, sometimes I'll be like, hey, that wasn't that good. And that was Prince who did that. This one goes to Prince, because Prince not only did that for himself, but he produced albums for other people. And there are albums out there that are lost in the vault that we have never heard due to record label stuff. Like, he produced an entire Bonnie Raitt album that no one's ever heard because they couldn't get the approval from record companies in order to get it released. But him and Bonnie Raitt had a good-ass time in the studio doing it. So I'm going to give that point to Prince, because I think that really as an engineering and all that stuff, I mean, Prince built an entire place, Paisley Park, in order to do his own production, and he rented out his space because people realized how good a production value that you could get at a location like that, and Prince did all of his music there, so point goes to Prince. Then the last point in our who is more talented off is who was the better actor? Now this is actually a tough one too, because both Prince and Michael Jackson were huge into movies, and both of them had a hand in that. And I'm gonna remove, you know, Prince's directing and his writing, because I'm taking that out. Yes, he did that too with movies, but really this is specifically a question on acting. So let's start off with Prince. Prince had Purple Rain, where he wasn't the best actor. It was mostly kind of a concert movie, and then he had some scenes in between where sometimes he talked and sometimes he didn't, but he could emote like nobody's business. If he gave you a look, you knew what he was feeling, and that was actually kind of one of Prince's big saving graces in his acting career, was that he could emote like nobody's business. Going to Under the Cherry Moon, he obviously had something going on there. He acted the whole movie, and again, it's not really a movie that a lot of people liked. I loved it, and you guys can go see my review of it. I think it definitely showed that he's got good comedic timing, and he is a good actor. Graffiti Bridge, again, good actor, emotes like nobody. I think that he did a really good job, and I know that there were other movies that are in the vault, and I have no opinion on those because I've never seen them, but I would love to. Now with Michael Jackson, he did less full-length feature films. Obviously, he had Moonwalker, which I think probably cancels out Purple Rain, I think, because it was mostly just a collection of different music videos and he did or didn't say anything in between them. But here's the thing, Michael Jackson really liked to turn his videos into little mini movies, and Prince did this a few times, but they always ended up becoming like concert movies. He did it with like The Beautiful Experience and Love for One Another, and those were cool, but they were basically collections of music videos all kind of strung together with a very, very loose plot. But Michael Jackson, like, you know, You Rock My World was kind of a gangster thing, and Thriller had a whole huge production about it, and like that was actually the cool thing about Michael Jackson, is that he would turn each of his videos into little mini movies. So I think in the end, I think I'm gonna give this point to Michael Jackson. I think he deserves it. So hopefully you're with me so far. That is 4 points for Prince and 3 points for Michael. But you can see the conclusion of this in part 2. In the meantime, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram and Patreon at patreon.com/princessfriend. And may you live to see the dawn. See you in part 2.